Hi, my name is Tim Peterson, and I'm the Director of Assessment for the Madison Metropolitan School District. Thank you for watching this Advanced Placement Proctor training video for the year 2022. So this is going to be recorded, and if you have questions that come up after this presentation, please don't hesitate to contact either Sarah Wallner, who's the Assessment Technician and AP District Coordinator, or myself. There's contact information within this presentation a couple of different times. So let's get started. All right. So again, Sarah Wallner, and my name is Tim Peterson. Thanks for watching. Today, what we're going to cover is the student registration protocol, things that happen during starting and during the exam, what happens after the exam, some incident procedures, things that are common that hopefully won't happen, talk a little bit about scheduling for proctors, and then some general reminders, and also how to, again, to contact us if you have questions. So Sarah Wallner is the AP District Coordinator. Her office number is here, 663-4945. Her cell phone is here as well. My job is the Director of Assessment for the district, and you can reach me anytime on my cell phone number, at my cell phone number, 608-566-5490. All right, let's step into this. So thanks again for being a proctor. We appreciate it greatly. It allows our students to actually take the AP exam in the setting. Our district is a multi-school district assessment site. In other words, all our high schools come together at one location, one or two locations. We coordinate this at the district level, unlike many districts which only do this at the high school level. So things are a little bit different, and that's why we require to have you as a proctor. So we're going to be following the district COVID protocols first and foremost. So as it currently stands, as of today, the 20th of April, students and staff are expected to be masked while indoors. This would include during the AP test at the Alliant Energy Center, or if you are proctoring the test at the Marriott West on the 11th of May. If things change during the test window, which is they're scheduled to do, they're going to make an announcement sometime in the middle of the first week of May. If things change, we will let everyone know. If they were to remove the restriction, you are certainly welcome to wear a mask at any time and all the time, and we'll make that abundantly clear to students as well. So just so you know, again, we're following the district protocols. Now, let's talk a little bit about when students arrive, what is going on, so you're aware of this process. The Alliant Energy Center is a large enough facility that accommodates all of our students for our testing. We ask that the morning exam, that students arrive by 7:30 a.m. They have to go through a registration process. So the goal is to actually get them into the room for testing. And you begin the process, the lead proctor begins the process of reading the instructions by 7:45. This allows the actual exam to start at 8 o'clock. This is going to be critical, as we're going to talk a little bit later about why on-time start and finish is really important. When students arrive, one of the things that they will have to do is they will have to check in at the tables that are going to be set up for registration outside the testing room. They will need to show proof of identification. So we're going to be checking a photo ID of each student and providing them with the information that they will need at that test. If students do not have an ID, which could be a driver's license or a school-issued ID, if they don't have that ID, then they will need to connect with Sarah Wallner or myself, and we will check in. We'll have a computer checked into the Infinite Campus, our student information system, which often most of the time has a photo of every student. So we'll be able to identify them that way. At this time, students will also receive their personalized label sheet and an answer sheet. These are going to be set out, so we'll have things set up ahead of time. They will be on tables alphabetically. And so there will be a couple of us who are going to be working at getting students checked in ID, and they'll have that information, that answer sheet and their label sheet. So if students can't find that, they will be connecting with either Sarah or myself, and we'll make sure that things get straight for them. So when they walk into the check-in, after the check-in, when they walk into the room, they're going to have with them everything they need from us in order to get started. Now, we're going to talk about a couple other things that have to happen then as well. So once they get into the room, we're going to go through a process of distributing materials to the students and making sure that they have the identifying information on the sheets filled out correctly. So there will be a process that's called the general instructions that the lead proctor is going to be reading before each and every exam. After the general instructions, which include filling out information about who they are, where they put the labels, etc., the proctors will be reading, the lead proctor will be reading the exam-specific instructions. There is a script. Here is an example of a script. There is a script for every portion of every exam. As you read this, if you are the lead proctor, as you read this, please read the material exactly as printed. Do not ad lib, do not add other things to any comments about things, because this is very scripted and it's critical that students get all of the information. Please don't omit things that you think are repetitious, but please make sure you read all of that information. There's going to be a process of when the test material is distributed, the students are not allowed to open it. That comes along with certain parts of the exam, and that's the exam-specific instructions. There will be information that they have to fill out on their answer sheets, so that will be something that they walk in with. Also, in that general information instructions, you will please note the start time and then the stop time. So that's important that we keep that in place. You'll notice on this particular slide, the introduction and exam security. So you have to go through exam security at the beginning of every exam. You cannot assume that students know and understand all of this. So it always begins, good morning or afternoon. Testing will begin after you complete the identification information on your answer sheet, and on and on. Now, what students can have with them. So there's a very specific list, depending on the exam, what they can and cannot have with them. So students need to bring their own writing materials. We will have #2 pencils with erasers available in case students forget, if students break the lead and don't have a hand sharpener present. So if there's an extra pencil needed, we will have them ready for them. They will need to have a pen. There will also have pens available for each and every exam, because this is where they need to sign exam cover booklets, and the free response questions in most exams need to be completed in ink, not in pencil. In the large room, large testing room, we will have clocks that hang on poles that are about 1 foot in diameter, that will face the students so that they can see the approximate time, or we'll have all the clocks synchronized so that they will show the same time, so that they can get a sense for how much time is left in the exam. In the smaller test rooms, we'll have also a clock. All of these will be hung on poles above students' heads so that they will be able to look up and see the time. On specific exams, such as AP Biology, the different calculus exams, chemistry, and environmental science, physics, or statistics, students will need a calculator. There are specific calculators that are allowed. Students have gone through this with their AP teachers, and also they will have this list available to them ahead of time, so that all calculators should be compliant with the rules of the College Board for AP tests. They can also, for the AP Physics exams, they can have a straight edge or a ruler. The government issued or school issued photo ID is going to be taken care of for you. You don't have to worry about that. If students have accommodations, we will also take care of that to ensure that they are in the correct location and you're well aware of what accommodations are needed. Okay, critical concept. Because there's a morning exam that is expected to start at 8 a.m. and there is an afternoon exam that is expected to start at 12 noon. Starting and ending is a critical concept. Starting and ending on time is a critical concept. So at the 7:45 start, the lead proctor can begin reading the instructions, and it does take about 15 minutes for students to go through the process of filling out the answer sheet, to respond to all the questions, to open their exams. But once the exam booklets have been passed out and opened, no students may be allowed to enter into the exam. So if we have late arriving students and we're in a large exam room, if they're arriving and we can still hear that there are instructions being given, we will allow the student to come in. We will bring them in and have them seated near the back of the room. If, however, exams are actually opened, that student will not be allowed to test on that test day. That doesn't mean they will forfeit their opportunity to test. It just means that they will not be testing that day. During the exam, please walk around the room. Please make your presence felt, if not seen. We don't want cheating. We don't want people watching other people, looking to see what they have. During this time, it's the best time to begin creating a seating chart. You will need to have a seating chart. We have forms available in large test rooms. We have a process. Typically, it is we put a post-it note. We have post-it notes on each student's desk. And we might have a letter, a row letter, and the seat number on the post-it. And we ask students to print their first and last name on the post-it. This is true for all exams, whether you're in the large room or if you're in a smaller room. When students do that at the beginning of the test, that allows you to take your time. You do not have to interrupt students when they're testing. You can just walk around the room at your, once things get rolling, and then quietly pick up the post-it in the order that it is for the seats, and then you can use those orders, those numbers, to actually write down who is in which seat. This is incredibly important, as if there is any question about students cheating, the College Board will come back and say, where were these students in proximity to each other? If they are right next to each other, it's much more likely that there was some kind of cheating going on than if they were across the hall, across the room from each other. If you're in a large room, we will have some elevated chairs. Basically, they are the high chairs that you might find in a bar or restaurant. And so if you could sit in those, if you're going to be sitting down during the test time, please sit in those that you can see around the room and that students can see you. If they have a question, they will typically they'll look around and raise their hand so that you can notice them. Noticing them quickly and quietly is very important. Going over to them, seeing what their question or concern is also very important. Keep the room supervised during the entire administration, including during the break. So if you need a break, you need to we'll have somebody come and check on the room. If you need a break, we'll have someone step in as the proctor and continue observing while you step out and use the restroom, and then come back, and we should be all set. So no one should have a room that is unattended with students and examination material in it at any time. Please do not engage in conversation. Do not sit in the back of the room and have a conversation. I know it's tempting, especially after many hours of doing this, but please also refrain from use of cell devices. Make sure that your cell phone, we will not require you to put your cell phone in a plastic bag like we do the students. However, please make sure the ringer is off. We understand that just as with students, it is hard to be away from your cell phone for a long time, especially if it is considered a lifeline of sorts. But please make sure that your cell phone ringer is off. Refrain from spending a lot of time on that. If you do need to be on your cell phone for whatever reason to respond to an urgent text message, please be in the back of the room and out of sight of the students as you are responding, and keep it as quick and as short as possible. Also avoid sitting and reading books. We really need to make sure that we are focused on the students, and the length of the exam can get long. We realize that, but your focused attention is really critical. Don't do anything that also disrupts the testing environment for the students. They worked many hours throughout the entire year to get to this point. We want to ensure that the exam situation, the administration, is as important to them as it is to us, and we want to make sure that everything is working. Now, students may, even if they're finished, they may not leave early. We have a rule that all students are to be dismissed at the same time. If there is an exception, it is with students with accommodations, and they will typically be in a separate room, and we will share that ahead of time with you. So again, just a reminder, cell phones, I know for students they live there, but for adults, we spend a lot of time on cell phones as well. So please make sure that if it's critical that you use that, you do that out of sight of the students. Okay, there are breaks for students in every test. So keeping that room supervised, again, is really critical, especially and including the breaks. Students will be given a 10-minute break between sections 1 and 2 of an exam. And this is part of the protocols that you read through, as the script that you read through as you administer the exam. It will say, you will now have a 10-minute break. It will also give certain restrictions to them about what they can and cannot do. Make sure that you write down when the exam will start. You may also want to help students understand that it's time to get back. So you may step out into the area around where the doors are, or near the restrooms, and just remind students that we're starting in 1 minute to get back to their seats, so that you can start at the end of 10 minutes. Not moving towards the chairs at 10 minutes, but we need to keep this as tight as we possibly can. Please note that there are many students who are taking 2 exams in 1 day. We do make some allowances for eating food, especially during general instructions, if the exams are running close together. Also during breaks. Keep in mind that all student backpacks and everything is going to be under their chairs. They can take a drink of water. Some students may have a cold. They may need to have a drink of water during the exam. Please, you'll read the instructions and they are not to do that. I am okay with that as long as it remains covered and sealed when they put it under their chair, so we're not spilling anything, etc. Monitoring restrooms as needed. So in the large test areas, there's often a restroom in the very back. During the exam, oftentimes a student will raise their hand and ask if they can use the restroom. Please feel free to do that. Reminder that the exam time does not stop for that. So they are using their own time in order to take a restroom break. If there's more than one student, who is attending and going to the restroom, that needs to be monitored so that there's no conversation between students during their restroom break. So you can either allow to have one student at a time, wait until they come back, or you can have someone who actually physically monitors the restroom while students are there so no conversation begins. So students can take breaks. We're not turning off the clock for them. There is a 10-minute break, which the clock does stop, but just wanted you to be aware of kind of those policies. Now, you may be asked if you would be interested or if you're available to proctor an accommodated test session. This could be a longer exam. Sometimes students are given 1.5 times. So for instance, the section is normally an hour, they would get an hour and a half. Doesn't mean that they're going to use it. It just means that they're given more time. So we keep students who have the exact same accommodations in the same groups, the same rooms. They will not be in the large standard test administration rooms. So we'll have a separate proctor for those. Some people actually find proctoring those exams much better, much what they prefer, others don't. But we'll let you know ahead of time what the exact, if you are in for proctoring an accommodated session, Sarah will let you know what that is, what the accommodations are prior to the test that you're going to be given, at least the day before. Some of you may also be proctoring a language exam. Language and culture exams are a part of what we do at MMSD. In those exams, there are compact discs that come with this that students are to listen to. Now, these discs will need to be played, so there will be a CD player. They should be at a volume that everyone in the room can hear without being too loud. And you will be told once you start it, when to turn it on and turn it off. Typically, the portion of the exam that is using a CD will start. There will be a dialogue, for instance, in which students will listen. Then they will have time they will listen to it a second time, and then they will have time to write. You do not have to watch the time for this, as if the test section says you have 35 minutes to complete this session. What happens is the CD actually plays through and times it out 35 minutes later. It will say your time is up and it will finish that portion of the exam. So once the CD starts, you typically will let it go. Also in language exams, there is a time in which students will respond to the CD by recording their own voice. The students should have had experience with the voice recorder ahead of time. If you are going to be proctoring a language exam and have not had an experience with the digital voice recorders, we will share one with you and let you practice. We have a handout on how to do this. So you can actually go through the instructions and try it out yourself. And this is exactly what the students will be doing. So there is a process in place to do that. So don't worry, ahead of time, we provide all the practice and resources that you will need if you are going to be accommodating, you're going to be proctoring an accommodated administration or a language exam. Okay, after the exam, going to be collecting materials. And so there is a process that certain materials are going to be collected first. So in the script, it will say, please set these materials out. You will need to collect and account for all exam materials. So when you account for materials, that means if there are 47 students in that session, you will need to, and they have 3 different test books. They have an answer sheet, a writing portion, and a multiple choice portion. You will need to account for 47 answer sheets, 47 writing booklets, and 47 multiple choice booklets. So each one of those needs to be collected separately and counted. and make sure that you have that all in place. If you do not let the students leave the room prior to ensuring that you have all. So you may have to count a couple of times. You might, as you pick up the answer sheet, one of the things that you will have to do is to ensure that the students will put the label in the correct place. This is something that happens at the beginning as well. So when students are asked to put an AP label on their answer sheet, as well as take one from their booklet and put it on the answer sheet so that everything is connected. You may have to go around and show people how to pull a sticker off. One of the best ways of doing that is literally by bending the booklet around the sticker, and allows the sticker itself to be peeled off pretty easily. Make sure that they have that on there. Booklets need to be signed by the student in ink. As you pick them up, make sure that you're looking at the booklets to ensure that you see that they're signed. No materials can be taken from the test room by students at any time. That includes scratch material. So if there's scratch paper, please make sure that you pick that up as well. Keep that all bundled together. Return everything, with the exception of the shrink wrap plastic, which you can pick up as students open up their materials and throw that away. Everything needs to be returned to the registration table, where Sarah or myself will be collecting that. Okay, incidents, things that happen after you've done all of this. Everything's fine, great. Most of our tests happen without incidents. However, we want you to be prepared just in case something does happen. Technology. Again, I remember I shared with you that we are asking you not to use cell phones during testing. Students will be asked to turn in and turn off and turn in their cell phones, their smartwatches, any laptop, any kind of technology that communicates Bluetooth, cellular at any kind. They will be asked to turn that in ahead of time at the registration table. They will put their name on a label that is in a plastic bag. They put their cell phone in the plastic bag, seal that up, and we keep that until the exam is finished. When the exam is finished, they come out, and with their photo ID, they will come and collect their cell phone or cellular devices. If a student has a device that they decide to keep in a backpack and it goes off during the test, or if you see a student who's using a smartwatch or some other device that is not appropriate for that exam, please excuse that student. You will need to pick up their exam and ask them to come with you to the door, to the registration table, if you are sharing a proctor, having more than one proctor in the room. If not, if there is, it's only you proctoring in that room because it's a small group, we will come by and you can dismiss the student. If there are issues with the student, if they're argumentative, please just remove them from the room. We will make the final decision on what is and what is not going to be done with their exam. They will be done for the day, either way. That is an incident that we will need to report, even for all the other students. So we will be asking about those kinds of incidents at any time and every time something like that happens. We work hard to ensure that that doesn't happen, but just in case it does, we want to make sure you know that things that you have to do. If there's another type of an emergency, a fire alarm goes off, there's a tornado, some other thing that happens, please make note of the time. Make note of the time. You've already written down when the exam started. Make note of the time of when this disruption happened. If it's a tornado and a fire alarm or something in which the students are going to have to leave the area, the process is make note of the time. Tell the students that they are to close their test booklets and leave everything there. Everything should remain on the student desks. Students are then to be taken to a safe area. We will let you know where there is a safe area if it is a tornado warning, if something is imminent. If it's a fire, we'll show you where the exits are. They're lit, they're pretty visible, but we want to make sure that in a panic situation that everybody knows where to go. Once the incident is resolved, for instance, it's a false alarm. Somebody pulled a fire alarm or something happened while maintenance was going on in another part of the building. After the incident is resolved, the students may come back to the exam. We will get everybody back into the exam, calm down, relaxed as much as possible. And now you know what time that it is when they get back into the room, how much time was missed, and we will be adding that to the end of the time remaining on the exam. So this situation will cause the exam to go over. We understand that. This is a rarity, but so it will go past whatever time the official original end time was. So that doesn't happen very often, if ever, but we want you to be aware of the process. So again, note the time, close the material, leave it on the desk, remove the students. Same thing is true with a medical emergency. If a student is having a diabetic episode, if there's some other medical emergency, note the time, collect the student's material. They may ask to leave to the restroom. They may ask to leave, period. You can bring material out with you. Occasionally, we have a student who just is so nervous that they literally are physically sick to their stomach. They will have to leave. They choose to leave. So you note the time, collect the materials, and then bring that out to us. If by some chance the student is going to be able to complete the exam, again, what that would mean, it would be allow time added at the end equal to what it was when they left. We will work with you if that is the case to ensure that the rest of the group can go while that student finishes. Many cases, though, there will not be extra time. So if a student says, I'm feeling sick to my stomach, the clock is still going. If there is a medical emergency, a diabetic emergency, we again note the time. We will work through that issue with you. If students cannot return and for some reason they just leave, let Sarah or myself know. So if there's any emergencies, one of the most important things is noting what time this occurs and closing the books and securing that students or the room's materials. Okay, so let's talk about schedules. Sarah will be connecting with you and sending you an email regarding your schedules and possible times that you're available. We try and create schedules that provide you the maximum number of hours that you would like, if possible. I don't think we've had anybody who's not gotten as much time as they really want. So if at all possible, let us know if you like more hours, if you need fewer hours, but please work with us as far in advance as possible so that we can fill in spots as needed. If there's a conflict or something should arise, let us know promptly. We understand life happens. We both have families and want to let you know that we understand that things come up unexpectedly. So on a test day that you're going to be working, please report promptly to the specific location. In most cases, that will be the Alliant Energy Center. We need to make sure that we start on time with the proper number of proctors in order to make sure that everything meets the timelines that the College Board has. Morning exams, if you could please report between 7 a.m. and 7:30, that will get you into the room and the materials in a secure location so that everybody will be ready to roll when it's time, when the students come in. If you are doing an afternoon exam, please be at the location between 11 and 11:30. Same thing happens. We will try and get the students in by 11:45 so that 12 noon is when that actually starts. If you are doing back-to-back exams, we will build in time so that we will come in, let you come out, and you can grab a bite to eat. We don't expect you to go all day without any kind of substance. So, some general reminders. First of all, there are lists out there of what to bring and what not to bring. This is a document that students will have given to them. They will be made aware of this ahead of time, but here are some things that will be on this list. Keep in mind, excuse me, keep in mind that there should be nothing on the desks other than writing utensils, perhaps a calculator, and the test itself. So everything else should be put underneath the desk. Backpacks, water, food should be put away. Hand sanitizer may be kept on the desk. Remember, students will be masked. We've gone through this last year and things were just fine. So things that are prohibited. Students should not bring any electronic equipment. We've gone through that. Books, extra books. Excuse me. Sorry, talking too much. Extra books, correction fluid, dictionaries, highlighters, those kinds of things. Mechanical pencils. Please don't, the students should not have that. Rulers, straight edges, protractors, scratch paper, computers, except as needed, references, watches that beep, food or drink. Excuse me, just one moment. Sorry, not used to talking as much as I am right now. So let's go back to what it is that students can and cannot bring. So again, scratch paper, if it's needed, will be provided. Computers, etc. If they are doing AP Chinese or AP Japanese language, they will be having computers. Watches that beep or have an alarm. They can have a watch out on their table. Again, because if they can see the clock, that's why we put it there, but we don't expect them to have a watch. Most students today will have a smartwatch, so they will not be able to have that. That's why we have the clocks up there. If they have an old-fashioned regular watch, that's fine. They can certainly use that, but nothing that beeps or has an alarm. They cannot have food or drink that's out. Even during breaks, they're not supposed to have that. Again, we have to be careful of students who are diabetic that need to have certain things. Students will need water, just like I did a moment ago. Students may not have any clothing that relates with anything on it that relates to the test. For instance, AP Chemistry, they may not have a shirt that with a periodic table on it. Okay, they cannot have earplugs. They need to be able to hear things, and they cannot have clipboards. So there's a list of things that their teachers should go through with them that they cannot have. Also, the estimated time, each exam has its own amount of time. Most of them are a little over 3 to 3.5 hours. There will be other exams that are shorter, some that we find historically go a little bit longer. You will need to make sure that for every exam, that you put in place a seating chart. We need to have that with students' names. We will also have information that is needed. For some exams, we'll need to have the exam booklet number, etc. Again, time management and efficiency is really critical. We have more and more students taking AP exams this year. There are 3,200 exams, and while that's down a couple hundred exams from 3 years ago, it is certainly more than double what we had last year. So we were getting back to pre-pandemic exam numbers. It's very important that we work hard to ensure that we get everybody the best opportunity to do well on their exams, and that includes with timing. And keep in mind that students have not been through this in a non-pandemic setting. 3 years ago, when we had our last regular exam, our seniors this year were freshmen. They may have taken an exam. They may most likely have not. So this is going to be a new experience for them being in person as well. All right. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to call either one of us at the phone numbers at the beginning of this video, or you can email us at these email addresses. Thank you so much for your time and attention to this, and thank you for everything that you're doing for our students. It's greatly appreciated. Again, don't hesitate to contact us with questions via email or phone call. Thanks.